What is up, everybody? I'm your host, Big Cam, and today we are doing another trailer reaction because this one got me all excited yesterday, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do a trailer reaction and talk to the people about it because I also have some goddamn thoughts because I'm a huge Predator fan. I'm a huge Alien fan. I was a fan of the Alien vs. Predator movie when I was a kid. The 2004 one's still pretty good, but the Alien vs. Predator Requiem, not so great, and wasn't so great that they've avoided bringing them together for so long, and this trailer maybe be bringing back the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise together, and if so, I don't know about y'all, I would be excited about that. You know, I love both of these franchises so much, and coming off of things like Alien Romulus last year, and then this year we're gonna get Alien Earth, and, you know, Prey we just had, and I watched Prey last night and rewatched it because this Predator trailer had me so jazzed about Predators. I was like, alright, let me go back and check out this Prey one. And I also saw, you know, that there's Alien Earth coming out this year, and then there's an animated Predator movie coming out later this year called Predator Killer of Killers. And, you know, really exciting stuff coming out this year, and this Predator Badlands is coming to theaters November 9th later this year. So we get two Predator films this year, one of them animated, one of them live action. And this same Predator Badlands was from the same director as Prey, so that guy, instead of making a sequel to Prey, decided to make this movie because he clearly had an idea and ran with it. But I didn't know Predator fans on the internet were such pussies. All of a sudden they're bitching about how the boy looks. They're like, oh, he's got his tendrils tied up, what the hell, this design looks ass. What the fuck are you guys talking about? You do realize you're talking about a goddamn alien, and you're like, he doesn't look right. He's a fucking alien with pincers as teeth that open up and go. What the fuck do you care what he looks like? Never once in these movies was I like, oh man, that Predator could have been more handsome. He could have been... No, they're creepy, they're gross, they're disgusting, they're monsters. They're supposed to be the thing you're fearing in the movie. And it just so happens in this movie that we're going to be set in the perspective of this Predator, I believe. And we're going to be seeing him more as a hero, where most of the time we're set in the perspective of the people getting hunted by this hunter, you know what I mean? People are online bitching about fucking the look of him. Retarded. The amount of things that you could talk about from this trailer, you're talking about, oh, I don't like the way he looks. If that is the criticism you have about this trailer, you can walk your ass right on out the door and nobody cares about you. Also, on the internet, nobody cares about your negative opinion, right? Nobody ever has scrolled the internet and saw a negative opinion and been like, wow, I'm gonna take this one to heart. No, they see people bitching and negative shit and we end up scrolling right on past it faster. What I'm trying to do on this channel is talk about things that I enjoy and that I'm passionate about, like movies and the Predator movies in general. So what we're gonna do today is break down this trailer. It's a quick one, it's like a minute, and, you know, get through in 3 little chunks. I have to split it up so I don't get copyright, but we're gonna talk about this trailer and little things that I noticed that are interesting that might be pointing us towards what this movie's about. So let's get right on into this trailer, shall we?
I didn't think you survived.
From the director of Prey, and we hear at the beginning of that clip, Ella Fanning's character, who we'll learn more about in the second clip, but we hear her saying, I didn't think you survived, talking to a predator? So this is going to be more like a human and a predator teaming up against other predators, is how I've heard this movie described, which is fascinating because all of the Predator movies we've had before are not like this. You know, there's never been a team up per se. You know, like in Prey, he doesn't hunt her at times when he doesn't see her as a threat. And then, you know, teams up in the sense where he doesn't kill her and kills the people trying to attack her type of thing. But in the end of the day, he's still trying to fight her, and she ends up killing him. This movie, on the other hand, I think it's going to be Predator v. Predator. And she's like, I didn't think you survived. And this is a 20th Century Studios movie, and just weird to see that logo in front of a trailer again for... It's been a while. But it seems like this Predator guy is abandoned on this planet, and there seems to be like a ship out in the distance and like a sandstorm, and a thing goes ripping by, so kind of like a speeder bike in Star Wars, if you would. And yeah, it looks like this desolate planet and rocky, sandy planet, but also has like water and beaches, but also like woods biomes. And it looks like at the very beginning of that, we see skulls, right? And he's got like different skulls because predators hunt for trophies. And the skulls he has on his wall, one of them looks like a human spine skull. And then it looks like a bunch of different animals, maybe like a gorilla, maybe, you know, larger humans. But the interesting shot to me is, you know, we see a Tyrannosaur, a T-Rex skull on the wall. So how long do these predator things live, and how far back is this set that he's hunting T-Rexes? And that skull is pretty small on that wall, so like a baby T-Rex? I don't know. But there's also a shot of like these alien skulls, and in the very middle, people were pointing out that the skull looks like the aliens from Independence Day, and to me they looked more like the aliens from War of the Worlds with, I believe that's Steven Spielberg's movie with Tom Cruise, and I love War of the Worlds. It's like a creepy alien movie, but there's a skull to the top right above the creepy alien one in the middle, and also the one to the left of the creepy alien one. Doesn't that look like a giant gorilla head maybe? I'm not sure. But the top right one looks like the creepy skull alien human hybrid thing that we saw in Alien 3, I believe. And I did not like Alien 3 very much, particularly because of this gross, weird, slimy guy. But is that the skull that we're seeing there on the wall? Maybe, maybe. But let's jump into the next portion of this clip. So, from the director of Prey, welcomes you to a world of hurt. And we see in this trailer, we see Ella Fanning's character, who looks like she's tied up in a tree somewhere, and her eyes roll back in her head, which we'll talk more about in a second. You're like, wait, what? What happened there? Ooh, very interesting. We'll talk about that, but it looks like people and a bunch of guys, like a military squad almost, are pouring into this town to hunt this creature. And we see, like, out in a field, these smoke spike bomb things that maybe look like fruit plants that, you know, are from this planet. And then at the end of that little clip, we see a white-haired predator, almost like a Targaryen predator, if you would. And he's kind of got, like, this, like, antlered mask and armor and, like, this glowing sword. And he almost looks like a Sith, you know, like a Darth Vader-esque Sith predator, and he's walking up behind a crawling predator, so who might be our boy here, bleeding out with, you see his neon green blood, which has always been a nice touch to these alien creatures, or these predators, which I believe are called what, Hyota? The Hyota? I just call them predators. The boys. But it looks like this predator creature stabs the other predator, and he falls into a cavern. So maybe this is where the beginning of the trailer, Ella Fanning's character said, I thought you didn't survive. And maybe when we see her eyes rolling back in her head, is the predator survived and is coming back to bring her with him, type of thing. But the shot of Ella Fanning, when her eyes roll back in her head, you see like a W logo on her eyeball, and that is the Weyland-Yutani logo for the Weyland-Yutani Corp, which is like a huge industry company in the Alien franchise. We just saw most recently in Alien Romulus. So Predator bringing back Alien versus Predator coming back together. Now, will there be aliens in this movie? Maybe not, but maybe this is setting up a future where aliens and predators team up to fight other predators, or maybe just another future Alien versus Predator movie. You know, not everybody hated those. I liked them. I liked them as long as the Predator won. Let's be clear. Screw those aliens. Aliens cannot win. Predators need to win always. Unless there's like a human that's more badass. But I'm rooting for the Predators most of the time. But this Sith looking guy looks crazy. Like the red sword and like the white tendrils. Have we ever seen a Predator with white tendrils? They're always like black. Interesting. So, what, no one's going to hate on this guy? He's got white tendrils, and our other boy's got him tied up like, you know, he's a youth, you know, young adolescent. That's another thing that we'll talk about at the end of this, is that, you know, people are hating on the look of our boy in this trailer. He looks like a young Predator. He doesn't look like a fully grown, fully fledged, been a Predator a long time. He looks like he's just starting out, you know what I mean? But on to the next and last portion of this trailer.
You're hunting something that can't be killed.
Ooh, so Elle Fanning warns him that he's hunting something that can't be killed. And I believe Elle Fanning's talking to our boy here, and he does seem to have some armor. He's got the scaly arms like they normally have, and people are hating on the way he looks. I think he's a youth, right? Like he's a preteen adolescent, right? And the other white-haired Predator is after him to take him out because he deserted the Predators, right? And we've seen in past movies where Predators travel in groups, and they're like in the ship and they drop a Predator off to test it, you know, and test its fighting capabilities type of thing. And the whole thing with the Predators is they're trying to be the greatest hunters in all of the galaxy, not just planet. You know, they go from planet to planet to take trophies of the best fighters and best hunters and best, you know, predators. And they are the alpha predator, you know, like the top of the food chain. This boy, on the other hand, I believe is a young predator, right? And he didn't want to just kill for no reason, and, you know, or whatever happened, and he got deserted on this planet, and he's, you know, a deserter, and they're sending another predator to hunt him down and kill him. And in that little clip we see he's like, you know, standing there fearless as this ginormous creature, you know, busts over like a couple of trees, and it's got like furry tendril legs, and, you know, it zooms in close on our boy as he does like a little sword spin, and then he screams, and like his little face, you know, teeth open up, which looks like every other goddamn predator we've ever seen, but this one looks like much more of a man inside of it. Like, it almost looks like, you know, the context and everything about this is a man in the suit, where, correct me if I'm wrong, the previous predators, they were prosthetics and they were, you know, there in person, but I don't believe the man inside the costume could see outside of the head. It was more like, you know, animatronic being ran by like a puppet guy off screen going, okay, you're gonna turn left and then I'm gonna snarl and that will be the shot, right? Like, it's all coordinated by the filmmakers, not necessarily a guy performing in the suit, where the Prey got a lot closer to the guy performing in the suit. But I still believe, because the way that the old Prey head was, his like eyes were like way up here, you know, so like they weren't like humanoid placement, you know what I mean? So like, if the eyes are up here for the Prey predator, the guy in the costume, you know, is what is he seeing? You know, I don't know. I wasn't on set, but Prey is a pretty goddamn badass movie, and I loved the redesign in that movie, and initially people hated on that one too, and like, once the helmet of the Prey predator comes off, he looks pretty awful, you know, like, but the bone skull mask and like the way that his tendrils like were super long, and he like didn't have a ton of armor, and he had like the you know, the claw still with like the detachable retractable claws, but he also had like this shield that, you know, popped up, and he had like, you know, he was like an ancient predator, right? Where this was set in like 1712 or something, like way, way back. I'm not sure when this Predator Badlands is set, but maybe we're getting back towards a timeline of like mixing the timelines of Predator and Alien, and I don't mind that at all. I think they, you know, Alien, Romulus, and Prey were at the peak of these two franchises for me. So if we're going forward and we might have another connection point for these Alien vs. Predators, I think it's been, what, 20 years since the first Alien vs. Predator? I think it might be time, baby. I think it might be time. I'd be here for it. I also love this clip of the Prey Predator throwing a like bear trap, and you know, it snatches on a dude's face. Like, yeah, Prey's a great movie. It really is. So I highly recommend going to check it out if you haven't. What are your thoughts on Predator Badlands and this trailer? I thought it was really good, and it's more like a teaser trailer because it's only about a minute, but I was dying to see footage for this movie, and now that I've seen it and seen the new Predator, the only thoughts that I had more than I loved the fact that what they're doing was screw the people on the internet talking about, oh, he doesn't look right. He's a fucking alien predator. Grow the fuck up. Like, what does it matter if his hair tendrils are down or if his mouth is a little bit wider and his teeth, like, what does it matter? And if it did look exactly like the Prey or exactly like the Predator before, they would complain that, oh, they just did the same thing as before. So they can't win, right, with these haters on the internet. They're either going to hate on what you did or they're going to hate on what you didn't do. And it's like, they're just haters, and the people on the internet are so toxic, and they just want to hear themselves be negative, and no one wants to hear it except for themselves. Me personally, I'm trying to spread some love and some passion about things, so if you're into things and you want to appreciate and talk about things you like, comment below, message me on my other social medias, links down in the description below. My name's Big Cam. Once again, if you've made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. Like this video, commenting down below helps the channel grow. Hit that bell so you don't miss future videos, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for coming on by, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace.